We're ready for the start. They're off.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the First Call podcast. Jeremy Plonk with First Bet, along with Jeff Siegel, First Bet in Santa Anita. You're dry today at Santa Anita, Jeff. We know we're not in action on Saturday. Racing already canceled for Saturday, but we're looking to get the Sunday card in. Just keep dry out there, bud.
Well, at least my lawn looks good. That's the only thing I can say about all the rain we've been getting. But we are not racing at Santa Anita tomorrow because it's going to pour. And then we have special Monday racing scheduled. We might not get that in because it's going to pour. So we're getting all kinds of rain. We'll just have to bite the bullet. I know it's tough out here when it rains. We freak out. We can't have this, we just can't. And we're used to not having it, but so the water is good. But anyway, we still have racing around the country that we can talk about, and we'll try to dive in and pick some winners.
All right, let's take a look at the stakes schedule that we'll have. Always 8 stakes races on the First Call podcast. We'll start at Aqueduct with the Busanda. Then we'll go to Oaklawn, the 5th season, the stakes race there on the path towards the Oaklawn Handicap. The Fairgrounds feature race is the Menard Memorial. At Tampa Bay Downs, it's one of those kickoff kind of days towards the Tampa Bay Derby Series with the Pasco, the Wayward Lass, and the Gasparillo Stakes. And at Gulfstream Park, 2 stakes races for the Florida bred, the Sunshine Filly Mare Turf, and the Sunshine Sprint. Jeff, devoid on that stakes list are any major headline type races. This is probably the quietest week, the first quarter of the year, maybe the entire year in terms of the stakes schedule. There aren't a lot of big headline races. The one graded stakes race we did have at Santa Anita for Saturday is transferred to Sunday. So nothing on Saturday in the graded stakes ranks to get completely wound up about. So that means as handicappers, we've got to get creative. You got to generate your excitement. And to be honest with you, I mean, day-to-day gambling, that's what it's all about anyway, generating your excitement at the windows. The stakes races are a nice twist and something to look forward to, but it's about finding winners, and that's what we're going to try to do here. Let's start at Aqueduct, pal. What do you think the Busanda Stakes, $100,000 here, a mile and an eighth? These are 3-year-old fillies. It's early in the season to be going the mile and an eighth. That's the Kentucky Oaks distance come the first Friday in May. So what might we have here in store?
Well, I ended up going with a Colt, although I'm not crazy about 7-5 on the morning line, but I guess in a small field, she's probably going to be the favorite. Originally, I looked at Affirmative Lady because she was second in the Demoiselle at a mile and an eighth. I think that's important that she ran well at that distance already, got a little bit more foundation than a Colt does. And as a daughter of Arrogate, Affirmative Lady certainly has a right to get better as she matures. But she's kind of slow on speed figures. I think she's okay. I think she's a nice filly, but I don't know how much brilliance she has. And a Colt, on the other hand, an Mischief filly, she's stretching out from a one-turn mile. Looks like she could either be on the lonesome controlling speed, or if Gambling Girl from the rail wants to go, maybe she'll stalk. But I think a Colt might have a little bit more upside. And the fact that Chad Brown is willing to run her a mile and an eighth in just her third start, maybe it's the only option he had, or maybe he really thinks this is what she wants to do. Like the way she broke her maiden, and I think she'll continue to get better. So I think a Colt beats Affirmative Lady here, but 7-5 over 9-5, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. But it's a decent sort of race. So that's how I see it, a Colt to beat Affirmative Lady.
Let's go back to that December 18th maiden win at Aqueduct. Take a look and get the fans get a look at it for themselves.
The field is at the head of the stretch. It's My Betsy on the inside and Occult on the outside. Occult and My Betsy battling it out with Serena's Court now in third. Don't Tell Amy is fourth. They're at the furlong marker. It is Occult who is getting away now from My Betsy. Occult in front by 3. My Betsy is second, and it will be Occult to get her maiden victory here by 4 lengths at the end.
So she'll add some distance, get a new pilot, Manny Franco up then. Dylan Davis, a rare pairing. Dylan Davis and Chad Brown don't team up that often. We'll see what kind of success they can have together. Let's go to our second stakes on the menu this weekend, and it is the 5th season at Oaklawn Park. And the 5th season is a 1-mile race. Mile races at Oaklawn start and finish at the 16-pole finish line. Some veteran names in this 5th season, Jeff, including the 10-year-old Rated R Superstar. He's been a good one over the years, won $1.7 million. This will be career start number 66 for the 10-year-old Rated R Superstar. He likes it there at Oaklawn. He likes it at Remington. He likes that part of the country. He's got Ginobili coming in, though, from the West Coast and your backyard. So this is a really interesting race.
Rated R Superstar is such a neat horse. Here's a horse that has earned in 22 starts almost $1 million. At Oaklawn Park alone. I mean, that's his track, so to speak. And he's actually coming off one at Remington in mid-December, so he is in form. And I mean, he's a fan favorite. How many horses can run at this level after 65 starts at age 10 and still be running in big races like this? I'd love to see him win. And he's 4-1 on the morning line, so it's not like he's overmatched. When I looked at this race, I actually wanted to go with Soy Tapatio, the rail horse. Robertino Diodoro is hitting at 30% at this meeting so far. He's inside. He's going to get a great trip. He's relatively lightly raced. He's only had 16 starts, and I think he may have more upside. His recent form is excellent. Yeah. Not quite there on the speed figures, though, but I would definitely use him if you're playing Rolling Exotics. But Ginobili, you look at his form, and he's just the best horse in the race. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He was beaten ahead in a very fast allowance race, which was like a graded stakes here at Del Mar back in November. You can see his workouts at San Luis Rey Downs are very, very sharp, including a 111 flat work back on January 7th. He's being shipped to win this race, and when he's on his game, he's a terrific miler. So 7-5, not a great gamble again, but it's hard to get past him. I make a Ginobili over Soy Tapatio. That's how I see the 5th season at Oaklawn Park.
Let's give the fans a chance to look back at that allowance optional claimer at Del Mar, where Ginobili was sandwiched in between graded stakes types. It was a heck of a race.
To the top of the stretch, a 44.8 half mile. They're into the stretch, and Ginobili takes on Forbidden Kingdom on their outside getter number, trying to close in. It is now Ginobili on the outside getter number. Forbidden Kingdom battles on. The three of them putting on a show. They're coming down to the wire. Here's the finish, and it is getter number running down Ginobili and Forbidden Kingdom in 108.27.
That was a big race off the layoff. Hadn't run at all in 2022 at that point for Ginobili, formerly with Richie Baltus, now with Peter Miller. And Miller beat him that day with getter number, and Miller back now with Ginobili on the road. He had horses at Oaklawn last spring that had some success as well the spring before. Last couple of years, Miller and company. I believe last year when his horses were at Oaklawn, it was during his sabbatical before he came back into training. I think Renee Amascua had the Miller horses at Oaklawn last year. But Ginobili should match up really well in that one. Last year in the 5th season at 25, 28 to 1, something like that. It was the rallying Rated R Superstar. We're not going to get that kind of $50 mutual this time on the old guy, but I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for him at age 10. Let's go next to Sprint on the turf at Fairgrounds, race number 8 on the card on Saturday in New Orleans. We haven't done a lot of Fairgrounds stakes on the show here over the course of the winter. Looking forward to that program kicking up with more of its in-depth stake schedule with the Lecompte in a couple weeks. This one here is the Nelson Menard Memorial for fillies 4 and up. So you got turf sprint mares on the grass here at Fairgrounds. Who'd you end up with in this big field, Jeff?
Ended up with the Brad Cox trained Astute, who has not been out since May of 2021. So obviously she's had her issues. Yeah. But she has run well fresh and won twice off layoff. So I don't think that's going to be a problem if she's the same mare that she was when we had her out here in California when trained by Richard Mandela. The work tab at Fairgrounds looks pretty impressive for Brad Cox. And Brad is very solid with comebackers and going 5.5 on the grass, a distance that Astute certainly likes. She broke her maiden on grass at 5.5 furlongs, and she's pretty quick. I think I don't know whether she needs the lead or not, and she may face some speed. But on the other hand, she might be the quickest of the quick. And at 3-1, I think Astute is probably very live and very well meant here, and maybe. With Brad, maybe she's still going to have a great 5-year-old season because she's only had the 4 starts. And the only defeat that she had was over a distance to ground in the Starlet, and that was, to me, a throwout. So I like Astute. I mean, again, if you can get 3-1, it's probably a fair price. Not a great price, but probably fair. And I think under these conditions, she's going to be tough to beat.
Uvera's won, 7 of the last 8, is the morning line favorite. But I think the Brad Cox factor will take a lot of money with Astute California to Fairgrounds. The year and a half, obviously, is more than a year and a half, about a year and 3/4 layoff. Certainly is a question mark, but it's 5.5 on the turf. If there's a place I really don't care about recent form, it's that. You
Right.
know, I mean, you don't have to be super fit to go 5.5. You need to be sharp, and based on what the workouts look like on the tab in terms of times and things like that, she could be sharp. And I can't imagine Brad Cox brings her back in a stakes race if she's not sharp. And that's probably all she'll need to be. There's not a lot of early speed in there, as you mentioned. So she just might get to the front and improve her position from there, as they say. Let's go to Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday, where there are a trio of stakes races, kind of the first of 3 legs towards the Tampa Bay Derby Day. They'll also have the second big stakes day will be the Sam F. Davis before we get to the Tampa Bay Derby in March. But the Pasco and the Wayward Lass preps for the 3-year-old and 3-year-old filly races. And we also have the Gasparillo Stakes on the card. So let's start with the Pasco, Jeff, race number 6. This was part of my countdown to the Crown Scouting report that'll be posted a little bit later today. The only 3-year-old stakes in the country this weekend. So that's why the Pasco's getting top billing in countdown. There is no other race to look at. 7 furlongs, $125,000 purse here. There's some interesting horses in here for Mark Casse. He's got Champion's Dream. He's got Armstrong. And then the locals, horses that are coming out of the inaugural stakes. The inaugural stakes is a December race there for the 2-year-olds, but we've already seen the winner of that race, Super Chow, come back and win at Gulfstream Park really impressively. Super Chow winning last week in the Limestone Stakes for the 3-year-old sprinters. So the inaugural stakes has a little credibility to it that Super Chow went and won at Gulfstream last week. Do you like the locals? Do you like somebody from Casse? Where are you leaning in here?
Well, I'm going to try a price here. I'm desperate for a price on the sequence that we have this week. I'm tired of giving out 7 to 5s and those kinds. So you got Mark Casse with 2 horses here. Champion's Dream, who won the Nashua, which is a nice sort of decent sort of race to win. Numbers wise, though, this is a colt that's not particularly fast. A colt by Justify, but his numbers buyer numbers are in the 60s, so he's beatable. And then the other horse of Mark Casse, Armstrong, who's actually considerably faster on speed figures than Champion's Dream. Champion's Dream is listed at 6 to 5 on the morning line, and the quote unquote other Casse is 6 to 1. And the other Casse comes down from Woodbine. And watching his race, Jeremy, I thought Armstrong showed a lot of quality, a lot of moxie in his win in the Clarendon, which is a Canadian-bred race. But he earned a good number, and he took heat, and he dug down deep. And in visually watching this race, he impressed me, and I think he's okay. I don't think he's that much inferior, if at all, to Champion's Dream, and he's a way better price.
Let's go back and take a look with Robert Geller's call, the Clarendon Stakes featuring Armstrong.
Armstrong on the inside, Pulananoti the setter, and they draw off. Pulananoti on the outside, and on the rails, Armstrong battle it out stride to stride, and Armstrong's not going away. Armstrong back on the inside in front, Pulananoti on the outside, Armstrong and Pulananoti. Armstrong and a photo from Pulananoti, and back in third was Paramount Prince.
You know, I know you love those horses who win photo finishes. We talked about that a lot in the last couple of weeks, and you see them. You know, they consistently can win the tough battles. Armstrong won by a half when breaking the maiden, won by a neck there in the Clarendon Stakes. If it becomes a throwdown, you like your options when a horse like that has shown in the past the ability to win a tight one. Champion's Dream's interesting. You mentioned by Triple Crown winner Justify. The damn dancing in her dreams. The first couple starts of her career, she looked like she was going to be an international good thing. Everybody loved her. She was flashy. She won easy for Mark Casse. And then she just kind of faded. She was not the same horse after the first couple starts. You wonder with mares like that, when they produce, will their progeny be win early as well and then not develop? That Champion's Dream won the debut at Saratoga, not a surprise. That he won the Nashua, not a surprise. But will this one develop as a 3-year-old? Now that's the question, because the mama certainly didn't. Justify, we didn't know how he was from 2 to 3 because he didn't show up till 3.
Right. Yeah, well, he might be a good colt. I mean, but again, from a gambling standpoint, if he beats you and he's 6 to 5 or less, so what? I mean, I don't care. But at 6 to 1 for Armstrong, he might get a little bit somewhat ignored. And he brought 220,000 as a yearling by Mucho Macho Man, who only stands for 7,500. He must be one good looking colt.
Right.
And again, he's shown he can win a tough race, faster on numbers, and took heat and was fought back. So, hey, I'll gamble on him. Why not?
Let's go to the Wayward Lass Stakes, race number 7 at Tampa Bay Downs on the Saturday card. The Wayward Lass for older horses, $50,000. Just a minor stakes race here for the older fillies and mares. Mile and the 16th on the main at Tampa Bay. We've got a field of 7. Where did you end up in the Wayward Lass?
I looked at this race and my eye went directly to Pass the Champagne. I remember how well she ran in the Ashland and lightly raced. She's got 2 wins, but she's been so sparingly raced. I mean, she went from April of 21 to February of 22. Now we're in 23. I've watched some of her workouts at Palm Beach Downs on video at XBTV, and she's working well, but I'm not sure she's cranked up, quite frankly. I don't know whether this is – she's tight as a drum. And then you've got another situation here, another comebacker, number 1, Beth's Dream, who showed last year how well she can run off a long layoff. Came off a long layoff and won by 9, then won by 9, then won by 11. Remember how good she was? And she looked remarkable. Ran some very good races. Now she's off a layoff. And the work tab looks moderate, but we know she can run well fresh. And the barn has terrific stats with layoff runners. So of the 2, I'm a little bit more confident that Beth's Dream is cranked up and ready to win. And from the rail, I would imagine they'll send her and try to make the running and maybe keep going. So of the 2, I ended up with Beth's Dream. But again, 6-5 on the morning line in a small field, not a whole lot you can do with her. But I'd like to see her come back at least as well as she left. She could be a very useful member of the older handicap division, if they, as we used to call it, among fillies and mares. So for me, Beth's Dream over Pass the Champagne in the Wayward Lass.
And with Pass the Champagne, you almost wonder if they're just trying to get a black type win on the resume before retiring her. She's 5 now. She hasn't been out since February of last year. This is a $50,000 stakes on the road at Tampa. Allowance races at Gulfstream are worth more than this. And, you question, well, what would she be eligible for? She would need a second level allowance race to come back in. But I don't know. I mean, this to me, with the timing, it's only mid-January. Breeding season won't start till spring. This is a chance that they can get her black type maybe to put that on the resume, because she's grade 1 place, but she's not a stakes winner yet. So maybe they're trying to help her broodmare value.
They start breeding now in mid-February, and so this will tell the connections whether they should go on with her or pull the plug. And so it's an important race. But as you mentioned, if she could win a stakes, if she could win this race, the fact that it's just a listed stakes is not important when you're grade 1 placed. That verifies the quality. So it's a big race. I'm sure they're trying to win it. There's no question. I just don't know whether they're running out of time here. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they're running her because they could use another work. You know how the trainers talk. But they'll be trying. But I think they're trying with Beth's Dream too. I mean, we know how well she goes off the bench. And from that rail draw, if she can get loose early into that clubhouse turn, she can be pretty devastating.
Next up at Tampa Bay Saturday, number 9, the Gasparilla Stakes, 7 furlongs in the Gasparilla. This is the 3-year-old fillies on the path towards the Florida Oaks, which will be run on Tampa Bay Derby Day. We've got a field of, about 8 in this one. Dorth Vader won the Sandpiper Stakes in a race where Awesome Pick also comes back. Several of these coming out of the Sandpiper. Let's go back and take a look at Dorth Vader in victory last time out.
Around to the quarter pole they come. Lady Rattler, here's Dorth Vader with a fresh challenge up on the outside. These 2 spin in the lane pretty much as one. Dreaming of Snow down toward the inside, trying to come through as Dorth Vader drifted a little bit wide. Awesome Picks back into the bit and trying to pick all 3 of them up. They have a final furlong left to go. Dorth Vader, here's Awesome Pick down the outside. Lady Rattler still pitching away toward the inside. It's Dorth Vader in front. Awesome Pick down the far outside. Dorth Vader clear though. Dorth Vader going to win the Sandpiper. Dorth Vader and Marcos Meneses 2.5 in the end.
Jeff, that's a visually impressive win because, man, when they just leveled off and went, it was 2 lengths right away, and that's what you like to see. We showed the video last week of the stakes from Tampa Bay, and it was kind of one of those visual handicapping exercises where after you see the horse, actually, not just the past performances, you're more impressed with them. The same way with Dorth Vader. That was a sharp move there inside the 16th pole, and then just kind of won with the ears up looking good. She's going to be tough.
Yeah, I went back and watched the video, and I can't emphasize, and I know you're with me on this, Jeremy, because you do it like I do it. You go back and watch the race, and you come away with an impression that maybe you didn't have before the race. And then looking at this race, I said, well, Awesome Pick was second. Yeah, maybe this time around, maybe she'll turn the tables. Maybe there's something in the video I can find that will lead me to the longer price of the two. So I watched the video, and I'm saying, no, no, there's not there. There's no way I mean, it could still happen, obviously, but in watching Darth Vader literally play with Awesome Pick in the final furlong, I mean, there's absolutely no way that I could reverse that for this race. I like the outside draw for Awesome Pick. There's a slight 2-pound shift in the weights, but in watching that video, there is absolutely no way I'm not picking Darth Vader. If she were to run back to that race, it's a nice filly. Another one of these Gervin fillies that I don't know where it's coming from, but Darth Vader is by a stallion who is completely and utterly outperformed his race record at stud, especially since he's by a very moderate stallion in Taylor Vicati. But that was impressive, and there's absolutely no way she is not going to enjoy 7 furlongs. First of all, she was drawn away with plenty left. She's already won going 7 furlongs, 3-2. This might actually be a short prize. I might be tempted to play.
Yeah, Darth Vader's won 3 in a row sprinting. The only defeat in the last 4 was going a mile and a 16th in the Florida Sire Stakes series. So back to the sprint distance. This is what she wants to do. Is she the horse for the Florida Oaks going down the line? Probably not. Like, everybody's got a big day, right? It's Derby day every day for somebody. I think the 7 furlong kind of races for Darth Vader are right up her alley, and she's going to be very strong. To me, a single amongst the stakes races on Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. Gulfstream Park's got a couple stakes races on their Saturday card for the Florida Breds. We will look at both of those. The Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf is race number 9. And then race number 10 is the Sunshine Sprint. So let's go to the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf, race number 9. Jeff, who do you like in this one?
I originally picked the Vow. I mean, she's stretching out. She's trying grass. She's not that fast on speed figures. Gun to my head, if I had to pick one that would probably win, if you said, who do you think's really going to win? It would probably be a Vow, but I'm intrigued by Sweet Danny Girl. I don't know whether, as a daughter of Jess's Dream, she's going to like the grass or not. I mean, you can't really look at her pedigree and say she will, although she's out of a Scat Daddy mare. But if she's ready to fire off the bench, I mean, she ran against some really salty, really, really good fillies last year. She was unplaced in the 8 bell. Something must have happened to her. 4th to Kathleen O is good. She was 3rd in the stakes at Churchill. I mean, she's running against some really good fillies. And I just think that, off the bench, she's got a chance to be pretty good here. So the work pattern tells me that she's healthy and steady. I ended up going with Sweet Danny Girl, but if you said, no, I like a Vow, I'm not going to argue with you. I think those are the two. But again, both these fillies trying grass for the first time. So we don't know. I mean, it's one of these races that normally I would kind of stay, be careful of. I would, as I say, tread lightly here, but it's either one. You could use them both.
This race was originally in the Coast to Coast Pick 5 for Saturday that had to be scrapped because of Santa Anita's cancellation, and I put spread with a question mark at the top when I did my original handicap because I find this race very difficult because, again, a Vow and Sweet Danny Girl, neither one is a turf miler, right? I mean, this is what they're trying to do. They get to go against Florida Breds in here. Vow's had 2 shots against Florida Breds. Sweet Danny Girl's never run against restricted company, in terms of state breds. So maybe a little bit of an edge there. Sugar Fix is the turf miler type in the field, but since being claimed from Safi Joseph, Bob Hess has had her 3 times. She's 0 for 3 out on the West Coast. Santa Anita, Del Mar, Golden Gate. She's made the swing at every possible venture out there. Now she comes to Florida. I think she would match up really well here, but is she the same filly who ran second in this race at 3-2 last year? We will find out, but Sugar Fix is probably the more likely turf miler of the group, but maybe not the best filly in the field. Of Vow and Sweet Danny Girl, I think probably have more upside. So interesting race. I think you've got to get some coverage in there if you're playing the late pick 4, late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. I wouldn't feel confident with any less than those 3.
I agree. I mean, I don't think my opinion on Sugar Fix is that she's age 6 now, and her form out here just not very good. I mean, you could throw her in there, but that's just another question mark that you have to deal with. And I'm just not real sure that she's what she was. Let's put it that way.
If she's not, it's to the other two. I don't know. Is that a too deep situation where you're kind of taking a guess on both of them, or do you just hammer down and say, from a gambler standpoint, because both those other fillies are going to get bet, right? I mean, neither one's going to be much of a price. Right. It's almost like you just got to cut bait then. If you don't want to spread this race, you hear the expression single or spread a lot when you're trying to construct a ticket. If you're playing a late pick 4, late pick 5 at Gulfstream, that 9th race does really become a single or spread. And I don't know, maybe you just take one of those, Sweet Danny Girl or a Vow. You take one of those good quality dirt horses and figure one of them's going to punch home and make it a single. Sometimes it has to do with what the rest of your ticket looks like as well, right? Your ticket construction on the other races. But that's a tough race. So get to work on Gulfstream on Saturday for the 9th. Let's go to the 10th race on the card Saturday. It's the Sunshine Sprint. This is a race where we've had some quality horses in here. It's only a $75,000 Florida bed race, but you got Lightning Larry, who won the Grade 3 Chick Lang on the Preakness undercard back in May. You've got Gatsby, who's the defending champion in this race. Interesting group. Jeff, where did you end up in the Sunshine Sprint?
I ended up with Legends Can't Die, number 4. In handicapping this race, I said, I'm going to go for a little bit of a price, and he's not a little bit of a price. I think he's 3-1 or something like that. So it's not like I'm trying to bust the bank here. But I like him because he's a lightly raced, newly turned 4-year-old whose numbers are rising. And his last race, even though he got beat, that was an open company, and he earned a career top fig, and that was back in December. He's got a bullet work since then. The pattern is good. He switches to Joel Rosario. And he's got a style that'll keep him right in the fray every step of the way. And if he can, I don't necessarily demand that he's in front early, but if he can be like second or third and sitting just a length off the pace, I think that's where he can fire his best shot. And if he makes the lead, all the better. But again, I'm looking for a horse that is getting better as opposed to some of these older horses who's maybe they aren't quite as good as they used to be. And maybe that's kind of a changing in the guard here among Florida-bred sprinters. So I'm going to go with Legends Can't Die. The pattern to me is extremely healthy. But you've got other horses. I mean, like you mentioned, Gatsby. He's tough as he once was. And if he's come back to his best, he could be tough. And Sociable's coming out of a couple of series of good races, and his numbers are solid. So, again, a tough race, demanding probably considerable coverage in your pick on your ticket, but I'm gonna put Legends Can't Die on top.
Legends Can't Die last time out against Endorsed, who would obviously be a strong contender in this kind of race. Right. He's not a Florida bred and eligible, but that was a graded stakes kind of race in the allowance company there when taking on Endorsed last time out. Jeff's taking a call here. It's probably Millie Ball, because Millie Ball is the host and beat the host this week, and she's got her picks in, and she's probably got some disagreements with Jeff on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, because she's got 10 picks that the public's going to go up against on Saturday. It is season 18 of Beat the Host, $60,000 in weekly and seasonal prizes. Millie's got 10 races picked out. They'll be posted later today on the ExpressBet website. Remember, you can only play contests at ExpressBet, not on the First Bet app. Beat the Host. She's got 5 races from Gulfstream. It's usually 5 from Santa Anita. We had to call an audible this week because of Santa Anita's cancellation. So Oaklawn Park will be track 2. So do your handicapping ahead for Oaklawn and for Gulfstream for Beat the Host. And the races that are part of the contest, be sure to check those out at expressbet.com a little bit later today. Jeff, I was fired up last week for Beat the Host. I know you wanted to trade and you wanted to get in that spot. You were telling me that you would have been confident in being in Beat the Host last week. 600 players in the contest, 37 of them beat me. I had a pretty good week.
37. Well, congratulations to them, because I know you had a great week. I knew you were going to have a great week because we agreed on a lot of the selections, and I felt I would have had a great week. So not surprising at all that you kicked behind last week. And if you ended up among the 37 that beat Jeremy, then you did a good job. And we'll see how difficult it'll be for Millie. I know one thing: if we had Santa Anita Saturday, Millie would have cleaned up at Santa Anita. I don't know about her Gulfstream and Oaklawn Park expertise. But out here, I listen to her a lot, and unfortunately, no racing for her. So we'll see how good she can be stepping out of her comfort zone. And I think she'll do fine.
I want to remind you, too, again, racing scheduled for Friday, Sunday, and Monday at Santa Anita as we record our podcast here Friday around the noon hour. So that'll do it for this week's First Call podcast. Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday to wrap up the week on It's Official and take on 5 topics in the racing game. We are creeping ever closer to January 28th and the huge Pegasus World Cup program. Be sure to check out. We'll have a Pegasus wager guide that'll be available the week of the race online with a lot of data. 3 big Pegasus World Cup races, the Philly Mare Turf, the Turf, and, of course, the 7th running of the Pegasus World Cup. Hard to believe it's been 7 years already, but looking forward to Cyberknife and company perhaps competing in that one amongst the horses. The newest invitee list came out earlier this week. I believe there's 12 invitations for the Pegasus World Cup, so looking forward to seeing who ends up making the gate. They're going to enter that race the Sunday before, so 6 days in advance. Give us plenty of time to do the handicapping for the Pegasus. But between now and then, we've got to hit some winners, Jeff, and we've got a full slate of stakes races and racing around the country this weekend to do so.
Yeah, good luck to everybody. Good luck to you, Jeremy. And hopefully we have done enough here to help somebody make some money. That's what we're here for. And we will dive in and try to stay dry out here in California.
And be sure to check out social media this weekend and YouTube for our Coast to Coast Pick 5 video. Jeff, Brian Natto, myself will preview the Coast to Coast Pick 5 for Sunday. It paid over $16,000, I believe $16,000 last Sunday. So maybe another big payoff in order in the Coast to Coast Pick 5. That offered on Sunday. All wagering outlets around the country taking the Coast to Coast Pick 5. On behalf of everybody with First Technologies and my partner, Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Time for a break. We'll see you next week. See you on Tuesday for It's Official.